I'm only 23 years old, and even I can remember the hot topic every single time there was a political debate or an election on the horizon, and it was always about immigration. But what a lot of these far left parrots and puppets seem to forget when they have their insult throwing tantrums regarding the migrant crisis, as it's now known as. They throw the term xenophobic or racist at people and often infer that the people that are opposed to this type of immigration are only against it because they're white, and the people that are coming over in their rubber fucking boats aren't white. But the short memory aspect comes into it when a lot of these concerns regarding immigration were there when it was about European immigration. Too much of it. When there was problems cropping up left, right and centre within Britain, the door was still open for European immigrants to come over here. People were sick of it then, so what makes you think they wouldn't be sick of it now? The only difference between then and now is the skin colour, and that gives them justification to slap you in the face with all the lackadaisical insults that they've heard from their college professors or Guardian journalists. That being said, the latest statistics regarding deaths in the Mediterranean Sea has been unveiled by charities and organisations, which we all know what that means. It means that within the coming days the UN is probably going to come out with their latest command for European bureaucrats to wholeheartedly accept, and that will be words to the effect of telling us we need to do more, kind of like what they're now saying to Donald Trump in America, and telling the USA that they need to take Central American migrants and refugees situation seriously. I mean, where have we heard that before? But nobody ever seems to address the elephant in the room, and that is that the onus is on these people if they attempt to enter Europe illegally. It's not up to us to prevent these deaths. They take it upon themselves. But to say such, that's racist. You know, so according to this anyway, migrant deaths in Western Mediterranean Sea this year has doubled from 2017. And I mean, what more is there to say on that? What the fuck are we supposed to say to that? If you're going to continuously attempt to enter Europe illegally and you're willing to put your life on the line, you are willing to put your life on the line. It's kind of in the name.
It's a move they are ready to make despite the harsh living conditions and the forceful displacement by the Moroccan authorities as part of the relocation campaign. These migrants will lose everything except hope, as their European destination is just within reach. Whether they come here and take me and send me back to the camps, I will always come back to Tangier because my goal is to get into Europe.
Illegally? Fucking hell.
Tangier is my town. I won't go anywhere else. Or else I leave Tangier just when I'll find my way in Spain.
Illegally? Why didn't none of them go through the legal process? Why do they just sit there and wait for some virtue signalling campaign? Are they expecting when the cameras roll up in these squats that they reside in, are they expecting there to be some sort of public outcry, drolled and swamped in sympathy, which will then result in them getting a first class ticket to their country of choice? I see no reason why videos like this continuously crop up time after time, and 9 times out of 10, if it's not trying their damnedest to pluck at heartstrings and exploit these people's situations, you will see the other side to it, and that is a bunch of African men that have a very strong sense of self-entitlement, in the sense that they're willing to openly admit on a camera that they have every intentions of breaking the law, knowing full well that they will receive no backlash knowing full well that somebody somewhere will see the video that they have just recorded and do everything in their power to see it, that these people can get to where they want to go. Now, what does that say about the society that we currently live in? What the fuck does that say?
Some have already lost their lives trying to climb the fence that separates Morocco from Merilla,
illegally,
the Spanish city. In addition, 2 Malian migrants died in early August during these relocation operations. But they are not perturbed. I was arrested with my wife and my child. We spent the night. 4 days we spent there in detention together. We slept on the ground. They pushed us back. I arrived in Tizine and came back here. This is my city.
Stay there then, bud.
I can't give up my brother. I went out for a purpose, which is to go back to Europe. I know what I left in Cameroon.
What part of Cameroon is Syria? I might not be the best when it comes to geography, but I know that much. See what I mean? The Syrian refugee crisis, now the Cameroonian refugee or migrant crisis. My mistakes, my apologies.
In the Bukalef district of Tangier, a large community of migrants have taken up residence and they remain hopeful
of entering Europe illegally. I mean, this is what I mean. It's fucking crazy. It really is crazy that we live in a world where this is allowed to be broadcasted and aired. I mean, is this reality? How is this commonly accepted as just an everyday occurrence now? Boats randomly approaching European territories to be picked up by NGOs. African people standing there on the camera, bragging about the fact they have every intention of entering Europe illegally. Campaigners and protesters with half their hair shaved and the other half dyed blue, pretending that they stand against the patriarchy and they want open borders for all. I mean, it's a fucking bizarre climate that we live in currently, and I really don't see it getting any better. All I can see is a negative trajectory, unless things change fast. But they are changing fast, but seem to be on a downward spiral in that regard. Of course, the Guardian have to weigh in with their tripe. You can't value freedom of movement but ignore how the EU treats migrants. Last weekend, 700,000 people marched through London demanding a people's vote on Theresa May's Brexit deal, many hoping for a Remain option on any future ballot paper. Right? The chaos of the Brexit negotiations, loss of inclusion of the single market, and the threat to workers' rights guaranteed by the EU were all lamented. But freedom of movement featured highly as a principle that should be preserved at all costs. Freedom of movement has become something of a shibboleth where progressive liberal politics are concerned, more than just the right of a middle-class family to travel. The defence of it forms an integral part of the liberal fight back against the increasingly racist, xenophobic and violent rhetoric employed by the right. Fucking hell, man. In the lens of the far left, anybody that isn't far left is a racist, far right, xenophobic, neo-Nazi, ignorant bigot. You know, the insults are like waters off a duck's back at this point. The only reason that the so-called right are on the rise all across Europe is because of what we are seeing. And I'm not even on the right. I don't take part in politics in that regard. I'm neither left nor right. But I can wholeheartedly understand where the right are coming from at this point. Because it's becoming apparent for all to see that the future of Europe is not even a slither of resemblance to the one that we currently see if current trends continue. And to constantly berate and lambast every single person that opposes this ludicrous, fanatical approach to immigration as a racist, xenophobic, and far right, or a fascist and all the rest of it. I mean, there's no middle ground. You're either for immigration to their extremes, or you're completely racist and anti-immigration. There's no middle ground. What happened to legal immigration? What happened to accepting the fact that maybe, and just maybe, current immigration trends have become a problem? They stand there and they scratch their heads. discombobulating as they try their damnedest to figure out why there's a supposed rise in far-right extremists and far-right parties all across the West. They never realise or fail to take any responsibility that it's partly their faults as to why these movements have begun to crop up. Because with your continual spewing out of open door policy rhetoric and refugees and migrants welcome here, all the while encouraging migrants to continue these perilous journeys, it goes against everything that European people want to see. It's not a case of having an issue with immigrants or foreigners. It's having an issue with the amount that we are seeing. There's some cities within Europe now that are near enough unrecognisable. But that's a racist thing to say. And of course this is a race issue because, as you're about to see here, what people are fighting for is a rose-tinted and narrow manifestation of a freedom of movement that only really existed for predominantly white Europeans. Imagine my fucking shock that the European Union created free movement of people for people that live within the European Union, and as a result, the people that benefited from said agreement happened to be white, considering Europe used to be full of white people. Imagine my fucking shock. This was not a desire to truly open up the world to all. This was a demand to protect their rights while ignoring the very real problems with EU immigration and asylum policy. Nobody ever said that this was a desire to open up the world to all. Man. September, Juncker, the president of the European Commission, promised 10,000 more border guards for Frontex, the European Border and Coastal Agency. The agency currently employs 1,800 guards. The proposal means that for the first time the EU will be spending more on its borders than on development programmes in Africa, from which many attempting to find safety within the EU originate. That's the point here. There's constant the way they word things every single time. We wouldn't have to employ more border and Coast Guard agency members to protect the borders of Europe if there wasn't this continual influx of migrants that shouldn't be here in the first place. And to take a step back and go, how dare they, or to try and infer that the actions that are being taken to slow down or maybe even possibly completely stop the migrant flow is met with nothing other than contempt and shock and awe. Not to mention the fact here that the EU really want these people here because they could have stopped it a long time ago, but it's the way they go about things. And since when was people from Africa? What part of Syria are they from again? I don't know. They're not. That's the point. We're seeing less Syrians and more Africans. We are under no illusion what freedom of movement means within the EU and who it really benefits. Yes, yeah. White men, white privilege. If the progressive voice is the one fighting for retaining membership of the EU, it should also be fighting with as much ferocity for the deconstruction and disinvestment of Fortress Europe. Without it, the movement risks tactically endorsing the fate of those many escaping from war, torment and economic and social unrest that Britain had a hand in creating. Fucking unbelievable, man. Peace.